And what got you interested in art?
Probably born that way.
Lucky me to be standing next to Stanley Greaves at the same time Jonathan Locke is unveiling a sculpture of the coat of arms of Guyana made of veneers that he's going to gift to the president of Guyana on the 50th anniversary of the country's independence. Did you know that Stanley Greaves designed a jaguar holding up the coat of arms? Well, I did not, and my sister and I immediately started to ask questions, whipped out my phone, and I started to record him.
So I had just the jaguars without the pick and the plant. And the Victoria and the wavy lines of water, that was Burroughs, E.R. Burroughs. The crown, because Guyana was a member of the British Commonwealth, it had to have that crown. And when Guyana became independent now as a republic, well then they superimposed the cacique crown on top of the Commonwealth crown.
Never missing an opportunity for an interview, I asked if I could do one with him. He said, sure, but what kind of questions would you ask me? I said, well, stuff like, what got you interested in art? And he said, oh, very good question. And what got you interested in art?
Probably born that way.
Luckily, I had a few more questions. In fact, I called a couple folks and said, what would you ask Stanley if you were going to interview him? This interview is really a group effort of many of his friends in Guyana, and I hope you enjoy it.
Stanley Greaves. My profession, I used to be an art teacher. And now I am proceeding with things I used to do many, many years ago and just continuing. I do paintings, drawings, printmaking, a bit of ceramics, sculpture. I like woodworking, so I build bits of furniture for myself. I write, and I like playing music, and I like cooking. I don't consider myself an artist. Ideas come to you, and then you have to find ways and means to express them, which is a big burden, because an idea comes that has to be encompassed within a verbal mode, so you got to write in that mode. Then something else comes up to you, and it's about making some sort of object, which is ceramics, but then you have to go and learn how to handle clay. Something else idea comes up which involves metal, you got to go and learn how to handle metal. It's like that. But the whole thing is that there is making is central, of making things. I consider myself a maker rather than an artist. When people say you're an artist, automatically the baggage, a certain amount of baggage accompanies that word, or that they expect that you just paint pictures, and I don't.
And there's a huge maker movement right now in the US.
A maker movement? They're late. I was ahead of them since, 1940 something. They're late. Yeah. It's all that maker movement, I suspect, is all because so many things are manufactured and people don't have the satisfaction of seeing something made by their hands, this hands-on as they call it. It's just that, a reaction to technology.
Or what allows you to make from anywhere?
First of all, curiosity and wanting to make the thing, and then acquiring the appropriate techniques in order to make it. Yeah. So ideas come from all over the place. So it's also a case of finding out what kind of methodology, what kind of techniques, materials you need to use in order to bring the idea to reality. I use the word reality advisedly. When my mother sent me on errands, I used to go past areas where I know that I would see people making things in the bottom house workshops, and I would stand and look and see what they're doing, how to do this, how to do that. And I go home and I would attempt it. But of course I didn't have the tools that they had, so I make do with whatever I have. Penknife. And before penknife was razor blade, so. But now I've advanced very far in the field because I now have big boys tools, machine tools. So it's quite an adventure from razor blades to power tools. Yeah, great adventure. And ideas and concepts come to me and I execute them, and I do it. If anybody's interested and they like what I'm doing and they come, sometimes I say yes, you can buy it, and sometimes I say no, I want to keep it. It's like that. So I'm not into art as commodity. which is something that is very much in the air, and I think it's destructive, very destructive, to get into that area where you have to look in terms of your work as being viewed by others as commodity and treated as such. So the whole synthesis of artist, art critic, collector, and gallery owner. It's a kind of sea that you jump into and then you struggle to swim to the other shore. Very difficult, because the major thing there is on money. And you see in newspapers and magazines, artists sold the work for $60,000. You have to find out how much of that $60,000 or $600,000 the artist actually gets. That's what you have to find out. Because art as a commodity means that sometimes people will speculate. They see an up-and-coming artist, they go and collect the work, from he or she. And then if that person continues to improve and the work begins to carry a high price on the market, then they can release the ones they have, the early ones they have, and make a lot of money, and that happens. One of the dissertations I had to write for my degree was actually on patronage in the arts. And I discovered, I think at the time in California, when an artist sells you a piece of work, if you sell that work again and you make a profit, you have to give a percentage to the artist. So I don't know if that still goes on or what, but I thought that was a fair because you're trading on the work, really. There's a different thing to people who are interested because they are collectors and they have no interest in art as commodity, but it's something that you have to deal with. For me, it's not an area of interest or an area in which I would put myself or want to see myself. So I stay out of it and I look on. The majority of my work will be found in the Caribbean, in Barbados, Guyana, one or two other places in the Caribbean. A few pieces, very few pieces, in the United States and in the UK. The UK, fewer still. In the United States, a little bit more because I have friends there. So many works have been bought by friends of mine, and which is good because they see a piece of work and say, "Yeah, I like that," and that's how I prefer to have work acquired, rather than somebody come and say, "Oh, I want to buy a Stanley Greaves." If they come and say they want to buy a Stanley Greaves, they'll never get it. You don't buy a Stanley. You buy something that you see that you can respond to, and that's the criterion, that you can respond to it. And I remember many years ago, he was an older teacher to myself, Van Rossum. He actually used to teach woodwork primary school at the Kingston Woodwork Center for Primary Schools, Van Rossum. And I remember, I knew him since I was a small junior teacher, and he was senior to me. And many years after, I remember him calling me, he said, "Stanley," he said, "Yeah." He said, "Do you have this piece of work?" And he described it to me. It was a piece I had done a couple of years ago. I said, "Yes." He said, "I would like to acquire it." I said, "Yeah." He said, "Because I've been looking at your work for a number of years, and that is a piece I like." Sold it to him. I would have given it to him free and for nothing. But that's the way it should be. I was in Britain once, and somebody saw my work, and I said, "Yes, it's a wonderful work. Why aren't you here in London?" And I said, "Because the imagery I need cannot be found in London." End of story. Now, that was not entirely true, because as an artist, wherever you go, you can find images to work with. You can. So where I am in the US, I see things that I can use, but it doesn't have that kind of significance to me, so I don't. So that's why I don't get engaged with galleries and exhibitions and so on in the US, because the work will not be that significant to those people. She'd say, "Yeah, I like this looks blah blah blah," but it will not have that ring because it's not part of their culture. and I will not engage in the language used by the artists of that culture because it's not my language. I am in the culture, but not of it.
We have another question from Andaiye. It's about
Wait, these questions you got from people to ask me? What kind of thing is this?
in the last 5 minutes. She wanted to ask you about a sculpture that has half a man and his hand, he has a bird in it. And it's called Political Gift.
Political gift, yeah, political gift.
And she said people have all sorts of interpretations for this
Well,
piece.
I think that the people's interpretations of that piece would be far better and more interesting than mine. And that has been my experience. Yeah. I want to do a piece of work as somebody who's actually holding a bird because it's not, you don't get a chance to hold a bird. It must be quite an experience to hold a bird. And at the time, you see, this is the trouble with titles. That title is an unfortunate title. I should have just called it Man with Bird. As soon as I say political gift, people start now looking at it and they're trying to read that into the work, which is not good. I learned that lesson, so I tried to give work a very innocuous, straightforward title so that you can ignore the title and begin to interact with the work. So everybody wants to know, what's the political gift, like politics is the board, the politician giving people the board, they go all good, but it's unfortunate giving it that name.
What took you to Wilson Harris?
Imagination. His use of imagination is one, and also the fact that I could form a link with the things he talked about, his movement in the interior of Guyana, the things he saw, and draw a link between what he saw, what I saw, and engage in a kind of dialogue. And that is why the exhibition of painting was called Dialogue with Wilson Harris, because the paintings were in no way illustrative, because you cannot illustrate Wilson Harris, impossible. But there were images there in his writing that had a resonance with images and experiences of mine. And so I was able to sustain the dialogue. And it was such an adventure because I read 18 novels, still have 6 more to go, did 24 paintings, but there are cases where I would say in most cases I could take a single book and produce any number of paintings from a single book. And the book, the last book he wrote, sums up all the things he's written about. That book moves about space and time, incredible man. Moving from one thing to the other. People stepping into paintings and getting involved with the activity of the painting, and it's just a tremendous bit of writing. So it's definitely not linear because he never wrote in a linear style, and this one is quite a dense mosaic of these things. I was preparing for untrained teachers' examinations, and one of the books we had to study was actually H.G. Wells' Outline History of the World. And I was highly entertained by that book because I love reading history. And I went to see our dad about something, and he said to me, asked me if I would consider illustrating a passage from a book for him. So I said, what book? And he brought out H.G. Wells' Outline History of the World. So I said, well, that's the book I'm reading now. And the passage that he indicated allowed me to produce the work that she has. And I also did 2 other works, and the 2 other works are just really abysmal, terrible pieces of work that shouldn't exist. But the one on evolution, I must say, it has stood the test of time. I saw it about a year or 2 ago, and I could see how my lack of technique. So if I had to paint that picture again, I think it would be even more powerful because my technique is far removed from what it used to be. But the thing was that I'm interested in concepts, and so I will state it and hope that the language that I use can support the concept. So in my case, it was a question of learning how to paint because the ideas were there. The question of learning how to paint so that I could present the ideas in a forceful, it's in a strong, forceful manner. So, and this is where technique comes in. You must have technical ability. And when people talk about training artists, the only thing you can train is technique. So if the person doesn't have any ideas, they can have the best technique in the world. And that's been my experience. I've had several students pass through that I wish I could draw like them. I wish I could paint like them. But they had no ideas. So they didn't carry on, you know. And so I've come to realize that that having ideas is very important, wherever the ideas come from. Either what your eye sees or what your mind sees. I had one boy at Main Street School. He would have been about 11, 12, and he left and he continued painting Dennis Telesford. I always remember him, Dennis Telesford. And he was painting street scenes and landscape. When I look at these paintings, he had managed to capture the light and the atmosphere, something which I could not do. So I said to him, you know something? I said, after seeing your work, I have to give up painting landscapes and this thing. And it's not working. You know, he was very embarrassed. I said, nothing for you to be embarrassed about. It is true. You have achieved light, that kind of light in your painting that I can't. You know, so it's a question of my vision. Because he was perceiving atmospheric light, where I was perceiving what they call local color, the light of the actual thing in front of you. So my little few landscape paintings at the time all had a certain heaviness about them. They didn't have that light and that air. So I gave up landscape. I said I gave up landscape painting. No, you carry on.
It's so interesting to be speaking about that with all the noise going around as we do the interview, which is our landscape now. Yeah,
ambience.
Being an art teacher, where did that start?
I really wanted to study or work in the field of horticulture when I left secondary school. And to this day, I haven't had a response in the Ministry of Agriculture. You know, so somewhere or the other there's an application lying around there. Because I like plants. So I got into teaching over a weekend because a former teacher of mine, after I had left secondary school, St. Stanislaus, I don't know how that man knew where to locate me after 5 years, but he located me and said that he's going on leave, Mr. Leonard Dial, good teacher, and he located me and said he's going on leave for a month, and the head of the school agreed that I could come and teach for that month. So over a weekend I found myself in front of a class of boys at Main Street School. And that's how I entered into teaching, jumping off from the deep end. And I learned one lesson very early on, which has accompanied me throughout, and that is, in whatever it is, never be afraid to show that you are ignorant of something. I know in Guyana the word ignorant is usually equated with being stupid. No, ignorant just means not having knowledge of. I was doing some vulgar fractions on the board, and I heard a little voice behind me said, "Sir, that is wrong." I said, "Oh." So I was left on the board, my hand on the chalk, and what do I do next? You know. So I just turned around and said very casually, said, "Who said that?" You know, no. Who said that? No. Who said that? Little boy, put up his hand, Portuguese boy, Caetano, I'm seeing you now. And he said, "Me, sir?" I said, "Yes." I said, "Do you know how to do it?" He said, "Yes." I said, "Come." And I gave him the chalk, and then I went and sat down in his seat in the class, because I was now the student, and he was the teacher. So he showed me a little trick, I forgot how to do that. And then I proceeded. So I learned then, never be afraid to display that you are ignorant of something. It doesn't matter where. And that accompanied me throughout. I was at, I taught at mainstream school first for 5 years. And then the headmaster from Saints, Father Brian Scannell, saw me one day and said that he has a job for me at St. Stanislaus anytime I feel like resigning from mainstream school. So I went. What he was doing is actually putting together a team of teachers, and they were old boys from the school, to teach. Because that man knew something that was going to happen later on. Well, later on, the school was taken over by government.
Which school?
St. Stanislaus. And so it meant that he was putting in place boys who had gone through the school, who knew something of the ethos of the school, and who would therefore sustain it, even if the school changed hands. I thought he was very prescient that he spotted that. Yeah. So then I started there then to teach art. My main subject, but I also had to teach a bit of elementary mathematics, English, and then one day he summoned me and said, Stanley, I said, yes, I have a job for you. I said, yes. He said, you're going to take over the GCE class, final year students with geography. I said, what, geography? He said, yes. I said, but I didn't even pass geography at O levels. He said, he just smiled at me and said, you'll manage. Up to now, I don't know how I failed geography, but that was my best subject. I don't know how I failed. I was most disappointed I did not pass. Anyway, I knew the subject a bit. But what was important was I was taking over a class that had been taught by Leslie Cummings, who is the geographer. And I knew him because we grew up together at Saints and what have you. And so I thought it was a hell of a responsibility. So I told the boys that I knew them because I used to go camping with them before. I said, listen, fellas, you know more geography than I do. So my role here is to teach you how to answer the questions that will be set. So that is the way we're going to proceed, and that's the way we proceeded. So coming here to the end, they said, you've been doing the geography now with us, why you take the exam as well? I said, no. I don't want to ruin my statistic of passes. So of the 6 of them, 5 of them passed in geography. From since I went abroad to study art, and because I wanted to come back to teach art. So I went to Newcastle and I did my bachelor's, BA honors, and then I did a diploma in art education. And when I came back and the ministry said to me, where do you want to go? I said, I want to go and teach in an infant school. They said, what? You have a degree and you want to go and teach in an infant school? I said, yes, because that is where the whole process begins, in the infant school. Sent me to Burbis High School instead. Yeah. So I was at Burbis High School, then I was later transferred to Queens, and then from there at the University of Guyana, where I was the first head of the Division of Creative Arts. And that didn't go well at all because within 2 years, 1977, we had a world crisis with oil, what have you. And so the budget I had for running the department was removed, and the money was put back into the general bursary kind of thing. So I was not able to develop the Division of Creative Arts in the way that I wanted. So that was a big disappointment.
Stanley Greaves, for instance, was painting the black sunflowers in his office, in his place at UG at the time when we were all up there, people like Lehman, Martin, Dale Carr. This was a time when the university was probably its last flowering, really. Right. Martin was writer in residence. Stanley was painting downstairs. Bill was, entertaining us somewhere else. Michael Eron was there. It was a very extraordinary period. And Stanley was painting black sunflowers. So I would go down every day and watch him paint black sunflowers. I became absolutely fascinated with really the application of paint and the techniques and that kind of thing. And a lot of what I've done in relation to art had a lot to do with my relationship with Stanley. And I recall we were both in Amsterdam one winter, and we went through the Rijksmuseum, and we went to the Vermeer room and to walk through the Vermeer paintings which in Stanley's company to see what it is he was taken with and that kind of thing, or to stand in front of the Rembrandt with Stanley for half an hour and have him worry about a particular fold in the painting and so on. It was really the most astonishing kind of art education you can possibly have.
So Aunt Andaiye was saying, we didn't quite know how to phrase it, but she's like, when you walk with you, she's like, there are different ways in which people see things, and you see things in a very particular way.
Everybody sees things. Everybody sees things in their own particular way, but it depends the extent to which they use their eyes and the extent to which they process the information which their eyes present to them. And the other day I was talking about that, and I said, you have the eyes, the physical eyes that sees things, but you also have what I call the eye of the mind. And there's a process that goes on between what the eye sees and what the mind sees. And so then now you have to locate yourself somewhere on that spectrum. You have to find your location, where you are, and you operate. That's how I see it. So some people, some artists, visual artists, depend a lot on the physical eye, what the eye sees. Others will see something, and that encourages or leads them on to another direction. And so they show, another kind of work, different kind of work. But there's nothing negative about either position. Those are the positions, and you choose where you are located between those two.
Back to your question of wanting to teach little kids. Did you wanted to teach primary school when you first came and they put you at Berbice High School. Did you ever have an opportunity to teach the little ones? And if you were to teach the little ones, would it be technique or concept, or
no? You just want them to try to find out what it is of interest to them, what's in their mind, what have they seen that could be of interest. So you try to find things to give them to do, that would allow this. So you're not really in the sort of primary school situation. You're not really teaching. You're a facilitator. You are allowing them to find their ways and means of expressing themselves with a crayon or the paint or whatever. Just like how you ask them to write a sentence, you ask them to paint a little picture of something, Show me yeah. So, and then you present things to them in an imaginative manner. I would say things like, have you ever seen a mango that's been bitten by a bat? Or any fruit bitten by a bat? So what would that look like? And also draw me the bat that has just bitten the fruit and flying away, something like that.
Right.
And then you get an expression. So some of them you can see have never seen a fruit bitten by a bat, but then they try to imagine what a fruit bitten by a bat would look like. And that's where the action is. As a matter of fact, that attitude should continue throughout, even to schools, art schools, secondary school. That is what should continue. And at the higher level, of course, is where you begin to teach techniques. And that is when you will see those who have a particular skill or ability to use the material. That's where that will come about. And equally so, you'll find those who have great ideas, but they can't draw.
Right.
It's
So,
like that.
did you do that with your kids, or is
I didn't have to do anything with my kids. They just decide what they want to do and they carry on.
Or were they? So they did a lot of art.
No, they came and they'd see me painting and they want to paint. So I give them, old brushes and paper and they go off there and paint. And then I knew that someday something was going to happen. And that day arrived when I gave them the brushes and the paint. They said, no, we don't want those brushes. I said, why not? I said, because those brushes are not giving us the kind of effects we want. I said, oh, it has finally happened. So I said, okay, so what do you want? Want to use your brushes? I said, okay, well, this is how you use my brushes. Because those are expensive sable hair brushes. These are very expensive brushes. Sable hair brushes, these are not the type of brush that you work like that. You have to be very careful of putting on the colors. Yeah. And so I never had to, I showed them how to use the brushes and also how to clean the brushes when they finish. So I never had a problem. Never had a problem. And the same goes for tools. I never had to hide my tools because they were taught how to use sharp instruments, knives and scissors. People used to say, why are you allowing that child to use that sharp knife? And that? I said, because they were taught how to use it. Because when you're not at home and they want to cut something and they don't know how to cut up the hand alone. Never had any accident like that. Because they knew how to use the tools appropriately.
What are you working on now?
I'm working on several things right now. I'm trying to get back into contact with my short stories. I really have to start getting that thing written. And also, I am designing some furniture using techniques I've never used before, which is learning the hard way. And I'm also finishing off a series of sculptures that I started many years ago, the El Dorado series. Wood, metal, paint sometimes. Yeah. I am not trying to recreate episodes from the legend of El Dorado. No. So I have things like El Dorado's loaf of bread. And when I go back, I have to do El Dorado's biscuit. I have El Dorado's soup bowl, it's a spoon. I have El Dorado's kite. I have El Dorado online, which is things on El Dorado online. I have El Dorado and Mount Roraima. Yeah, I have a few more to do in the series. I don't know if they'll be shown again because it's going to be heavy and I don't have the money to transport those things backwards and forwards. So we'll see. If I can't transport them, I'll get somebody to take good photographs and lie and show the photographs. That's it.
Do you have anything you want to say that I didn't ask?
Yes. I'd like to win a lot of money so that I can either own or at least rent one of those large ocean-going sailing catamarans. I always loved sailboats. As a boy, I used to go down to Starbuck Market to look at the schooners, and I used to build model sailing boats to sail in St. George's Trench. I lived in Carmichael Street. So I love sailboats. Love sailboats. Yeah.
Why is it kids these days, we seem to have lost that ability
because
to make...
too many manufactured things are given to them.
Yeah.
So they don't make things. I did not like Christmas. Or rather, there's one aspect of Christmas I did not like, and that was toys. Because my parents were too poor to afford to buy me toys. So it was always agony to see other boys playing with toys that their parents had bought for them. And I had to sit and watch them play with these toys. See, so toys for me was something I had to make, my own toys. Unfortunately, because I like making things, so I made my own toys.
Those would be collector items.
You know.
If you had them today.
None of those are wrong now. I used to make little boats, sailboats. I made model knives and guns. And then my father had shown me how to make a thing called whirly gigs. I don't know where he got that from, because that's a thing that's very popular in the United States of America. So I don't know where I had never seen any in Guyana. You make a wooden propeller, it spins in the wind, and then you make the wooden propeller do things. Like you'd have a man sawing wood. The one I love, which I made, was a man sawing wood. You can have a bird picking corn. So the propeller is the engine, and then you make these little puppets to do things. So I made those. They call them whirly gigs, and it's an American thing. So I was quite surprised when I learned about them. Where the hell did my father learn about these things? He used to do a lot of strange things.
It's interesting because when I travel to many of the schools in the Caribbean to ask them, what is a challenge you have in your school and how would you solve it? In some of the schools like in Antigua and so on, I remember them saying, well, we don't have for biology any of the things showing parts of the human body and all this sort of stuff, and so their solution was to actually make it out of wood, and paint it and everything, rather than import this plastic
and that,
version.
to my mind, would be far more effective than having the actual model to show them this is the thigh bone connected to the foot bone and the foot bone connected to the toe bone. It's better they actually make it, articulate it. That's fun. That would be fun indeed. Yeah.
Well, thank you, Stanley.
Okay, so we do this now. This is edited.
Who did the bird?
I can't remember who did the bird.
And it's a pheasant, right?
Huh?
Kanji pheasant.
The Kanye pheasant, yeah. I had a cock of the rock, which they were going to accept, but then somebody pointed out that the cock of the rock was the national bird of New Guinea, called they got cock of the rock. I was going to put a kiskadee.
Yeah.
Because I thought the kiskadee, the character of the kiskadee, I thought was very good.
Which is
The kiskadee, oh yeah.
why?
The Tyrannus, the kiskadee Tyrannus something.
Why you thought he was very good?
Well, because the kiskadee bird is a city bird. It's a countryside bird. It lives within the community, and it establishes its presence with its voice. Kiskadee, as the French say, qu'est-ce qu'il dit? What is he saying? This bird is speaking French. Qu'est-ce qu'il dit? What is he saying? What is he saying?
What was this day like 50 years ago?
What, in Independence? Oh, people are on the streets celebrating. Parades and things like that. Just flag raising, change of whatever. Yeah, it is like that. So there's a sort of excitement in the air. Kind of thing, yeah.
And a lot of makers or artists were engaged at the time, and we were just discussing the coat of arms.
Yeah, we were engaged in there's a competition for the coat of arms and the Guyana flag. The flag design is actually won by an American who's a professional, they got a word for that.
Flag designer?
Yeah, he's a professional in the field of flag designing and coat of arms and things like that, the professional. I still feel that it is an excellent flag. It is one of the most striking flags in the world, actually. But I still feel that the flag should have been designed by a Guyanese. I still feel so. Yeah.
How are you, man?
Okay.
I know you don't remember me, Mark Wills.
Yes, okay. A lot of people call me like that, but the thousands of people that
I know.
pass through hands, it's good to be remembered.
Well, there you go.
Good to be remembered.
Hey, Jocelyn, share around.
Upstairs.
Sure.
That video was actually shot a year ago in Guyana. It was during the 50th anniversary celebration for the country's independence. And it was done at Charlotte Street at Jocelyn Dow's home, showroom of Leanna Kane, and home to other small businesses in the area, and meeting space for so many people. I thought I would release it today because the building burnt to the ground this morning, and this is a memory of maybe the last time that I was there. And you hear the sounds and the ambiance of, as Stanley stated, of that space, and a space that means so much to so many of us. And so I just thought I would put this out there.
You want us to go downstairs?
Be quiet.
Huh?
Be quiet.
Yeah.
You don't have the problem with that.
Okay.
So I've come to realize that having ideas is very important, wherever the ideas come from. Either what your eye sees or what your mind sees.